What's up, guys? If you're into cassettes, I know that you probably have a pile of broken cassette players sitting around. I finally dug into mine today. I picked up all these things at thrift stores over the last couple years for like $1 each. I usually can't check them because I don't have batteries, headphones, tapes, or whatever at the thrift store, so I just get home and figure out what condition they're in later on. But what I ended up having is basically one Sony cassette Walkman that functioned, and none of this other stuff did. So I just threw them in the box and they sat there. And I'm at a point right now where I'm basically kind of clearing stuff out. I'm fixing things that need to be fixed, kind of getting over my procrastination because I'm not trying to be a hoarder. I watched some videos on general repair of cassette players and basically determined that the failure point is usually the belt. Now, the complicated thing to repairing your cassette player is figuring out exactly which belt it uses, because there's thousands of cheap cassette players and these things don't really have service manuals. They were kind of disposable. I found the best possible solution for myself was to go on eBay and buy one of these. Now this is a bag I bought with an assortment of cassette belts, maybe 100. It was maybe $10. I put it into the Ziploc bag. It was just in a little sealed up plastic bag in an envelope when I got it. But I'll tell you, I went through in about 4 hours and I fixed most of my cassette players. I opened up this realistic cassette recorder and found the bad belts in it. It was a little bit more complicated than the Walkmans because it seems like the larger the cassette player, the more complicated the cassette mechanism is. But don't be intimidated, and remember, not a lot of this stuff is super valuable. So, I mean, if you're not going to pay somebody else to fix it, you might as well at least attempt to fix it yourself. It's better than throwing it in the garbage or just, not using it for anything. But after some disassembly, I basically changed the belt out on this one. I applied a little bit of this white lithium grease to the gears, and then I cleaned out the pinch roller, the cap stain, and the heads with this isopropyl alcohol. This now works perfectly. Now, my Walkmans, which I thought would be complicated because they're small, were actually super easy for the most part. Now, out of the, what do I have here, 6 Walkmans, and the one that was functioning, I fixed these 3 in about a half hour. Now this repair took me, maybe an hour and a half, just because it was a little bit more complicated to take apart. But these Sony cassette Walkmans, everything is attached to the top part where the cassette is. The repair basically involves just remove the batteries. I'm not going to pop this one back open. I have a video clip I'll put up when I pulled it apart. But you just kind of get a flathead screwdriver and pop it in here. And you pop the whole back end of it off and you have easy access to the entire belt area. So on these 3, I just popped the backs off with a flathead screwdriver, pulled the old crappy belt out. Here it is. It's really skinny. They're all slightly dry rotted and they're super stretched out. The reason why the cassette wouldn't play is because these things just had slack. They're barely on there. I mean, you can kind of see how it's real flimsy. Now, the belts in my kit weren't the exact same size, but it doesn't matter. These are elastic rubber, and these are a little bit thicker actually, but they work just fine. If you get the assortment like I got, you can just go through and find a belt that works. But I was able to change the belt on all 3 of these pretty quickly. Now, these 2 were a bit more problematic, and I'll show you why. Whereas, when I pulled the backs off of these, I could just instantly get access to the cassette. This Sony Walkman, which I still have open, has a board, and then this thing just wasn't designed to be serviced. I'm sure I can fix it. It's just going to be more complicated, but I don't know if it's even worth it. I mean, now that I have 4 functional Walkmans, I mean, this isn't really that much better than those. It's way more complicated to pull apart. See, the problem with this one is it's got this, there's this little tiny ribbon cable attached to the front panel, and then these 4 wires here, and I think the way that I would change the belts, which are located inside of here is I would have to unsolder these 4 wires and then lift the board back and then change the belts. But maybe I'll mess with this one, maybe I won't. And then the IWO was a similar situation. It's got a second, well, the circuit board is mounted to the front part, whereas on the other ones I can access the belts easily. You can get to one belt on this, but there's a second one that goes up underneath the circuit board that I definitely can't get to without removing this circuit board. And there's little tiny screws. Like I said, I might mess with it later, but I'm kind of trying to get rid of extra stuff. And I might just recycle these 2. I mean, they're not really worth anything. And like I said, I don't think they're going to be much better than the other ones. But when it comes down to it, if you want to fix your portable cassette players and you have a little bit of mechanical aptitude, I'm telling you, you can do this. Just pick yourself up one of these cassette drive belt assortments from eBay. Get yourself some isopropyl alcohol and a little bit of white lithium grease. The Sony Walkmans, you'll see in the video, there's a little, it's like a gear with a cam in it that goes back and forth, and that had been lubricated before. I kind of went on with I didn't just spray this into the Walkman. What I do is spray a little bit onto the Q-tip and then just apply a little bit of the white lithium grease in places where it looks like there had been grease before. And the Walkmans all got a lot quieter when I ran them also after that. With the alcohol, you just want to make sure you're using like a 91%, only because the lighter dilutions have more water content. They take longer to dry for them to be safe. But it's really important that you go ahead and clean that pinch roller and that capstan and the head with a Q-tip until the Q-tip comes off clean. If you're not sure what those are, it's basically inside of the cassette player. The head is like right in the center of where the bottom of the tape would go. The pinch roller is the thing that goes on the opposite side of the little metal rod, the capstan. And it's rubber. It picks up a lot of crap from your tapes, and that's what causes the playback to kind of degrade. Now, there's another step you could do to these as well. I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but you can get some rubber conditioner to put on the pinch rollers, and apparently it makes them, it rejuvenates the rubber or something like that. I don't even think I'm going to get that far into these. I mean, it'd be different on a nice large portable, a nice large console stereo cassette player, but these are just cheap Walkmans. They're just for playing tapes on the go. Anyway, I hope this helped you out. I'll catch you guys in my next video.